According to my calculations, it's 12 o'clock or 12:01, so we're going to get started. For those of you on the call, again, my name is Dave Blum. I'm your Pathways Guide. I am the Area Director for Area G31 up here in Santa Rosa area. I share this zone or area with Donica Hopkins, who's Area Director for G25. And we're going to be putting on the TLI North in December. So there's going to be 2 TLIs this year, one in the south in the East Bay and one in the north up in the Santa Rosa area. And today I'm going to talk a little about pathways. And just a little disclaimer, I'm not an expert at pathways. I have not been trained by the district to do this. So they say that a guide is just somebody who is one step ahead of everyone else. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm certainly not 10 steps ahead of you. There are people who know the system backwards and forwards and created it. But, I knew a few things about it. I'll try and demystify and share with you what I know, but I'm far from an expert. Hello, Evelyn. Welcome to the group. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. I'm going to attempt to share my screen so we can do a tutorial. The last time I did this, yesterday, in fact, the Toastmasters website decided it was a great time to be down. And so I actually was not able to do the webinar very efficiently because the website was down. So it was a real bummer. All right. I'm going to make sure that I have your chat box open as well. Let's see. Where is the chat box? There's the chat box. Yes. You should all be able to see my screen. Could somebody or another please just type in yes if you can see my screen with Toastmasters? Thanks, WinCan. Jenny, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Always checking. All right, we're going to jump into this. I want to show you a couple of things. First off, one of the, I'm not going to actually break this down for the moment, but I just want to show you, if you click on Pathways, you will see something that says Learn More. You go ahead and click on Learn More, and we'll say Access Pathways. Okay, and then you're going to get to the page that everybody is familiar with, pathways, learning, and so on. And this is not exactly what I wanted. Hold on for a second. I know, I made a mistake. Let's try this. Let's go back and do this again. All right, you're on Toastmasters. You click on Pathways, and you see that it says Learn More. Scroll down without hitting Access Pathways. Scroll down, and it'll say Welcome to Pathways. You'll see all of the different paths available, which is a great resource. But what I want to point out is that right below it says How Pathways Began. And I want to encourage you, if you're at all interested in pathways, there are a series of very short videos right here. What is Pathways? Why was Pathways created? How was it developed? How were members involved? And why is Pathways valuable to you? These are only 2 or 3 minute videos, and we were watching them last night and learned quite a bit about Pathways and its history. Because I think sometimes when people get frustrated with Pathways, they think that it was just slapped together by a couple of monkeys and a bag of chips. And I think it's kind of silly. In fact, a huge amount went into creating Pathways, and they were responding to a situation where people were doing the manuals, but they weren't actually getting awards or going very far with advanced achievement. Actually, one of the stats that really jumped out at me was that only 10% of people in the old system finished a CC, and only 2% finished a CL. Isn't that amazing? Only 10% finished a CC and only 2% finished a CL, and less than 1% received any kind of advanced achievement. So one of the reasons they started Pathways was because people weren't really moving ahead with their educational goals. And the other reason, of course, is that it didn't really respond to the needs that people were having. And it really wasn't responding to the modern generation. So for example, one of the challenges that you'll see as you go through Pathways is create a podcast, create a blog, and so on. Things that never would have been in the manual, but they wanted to be able to respond to the real world. I think that also my theory is that Toastmasters also wanted to create new Toastmasters leaders. And they were worried that the skills that people would need to become Toastmaster leaders, that means division directors, area directors, district directors, international directors, and so on, that they weren't learning, the system, old system wasn't teaching them the skills they needed to be the leaders of Toastmasters as well as leaders outside in the world. So for a lot of different reasons, they created this Pathways program over a period of 3 or 4 years, an intensive process. And this is what they came up with. Now, is it the best system ever? Of course not. It's it's not the most intuitive, particularly for people who are not all that experienced with computers and the web. But I just wanted to encourage you, invite you to watch these videos and get a little sense of where Pathways came up from and why was it created at all. It wasn't just to torture us. Sometimes it feels like it, but it wasn't just there to torture us or to make life difficult. It has some advantages over the old system. It has some disadvantages. For those of you who use the manual, it was very straightforward and clear, right? It was just very clear. You have a manual, you go through it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you do another manual and you do another manual, and you write down your evaluations in the manual, you give it to your evaluator, you get it back. And this system has a bunch of extra steps which can be confusing. But I do think that potentially it has a lot of merit, and I'll get into it. But I'm not here to say that I have drunk the Kool-Aid and I am a Pathways evangelist. I see the pros and cons, but my job today is just mostly to talk about it and explain it, and then we can talk about the philosophy more as you like. So that's my spiel. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn off my own little screen if I can, so that I'll stop video and I can turn it on later. You all know what I look like now. That's good. So we're going to hop right into this, and what I'd like to do today is talk about how you choose a path, how you go through a project, and how do you do an evaluation. And I see that Ring has a question here. Does the evaluation assignment of level 1 require an actual evaluation of that evaluation speech? And I will get to that, but the answer is yes, it does. A couple of things I can tell you about Pathways that I do like is, number 1, there is a lot of opportunity to customize. Not completely. Level 1 and level 2 are the same in every path. So, but as you get higher, you have electives and there are opportunities to customize, which is nice. And I enjoy the fact that I can choose a path and I can choose electives. The second thing is that you get awards faster. In the old system, you had to do a whole CC manual before you got an award. Now, in Pathways, you do one level and you get an award. You do another level, you get another award, and so on. So you get recognized much faster. And the other third thing is that it is more or less paperless, which is nice, save some trees. And finally, I really like the videos. The old system obviously did not have videos, and I think it's nice that the fact that Pathways people hired actors and actually perform and act out different best practices. So those are some things I like about it. What I don't like about it sometimes is the interface, but we will get to that. All right. So the first thing you got to do in Pathways is choose a path. And I'm assuming everybody on this call has probably chosen a path, but what I've also discovered in doing this is that this tutorial is not really to help you, but it's to help you help other people. Most of the people here are worried that people are going to be coming to them and they want to be able to explain it well enough to help their club members. So I'm going to try and go through this with the idea that I'm here to help you help others. So the first thing that people are going to ask you is, how do I choose a path? And the system has two ways. One is you can just choose your path because you know what path is best for you. You've done your research, you've talked to people, you know what path it is, and you can go and choose that path. For other people, there's an assessment that will help you choose a path. And that's kind of nice as well. So it will actually give you recommendations based on an assessment survey. I want to give you a little resource. It's not part of the Pathways website, but if you were interested, you would go to the District 57 website. The District 57 website, which is d57tm.org. I'm going to type that in, d57tm.org. That's our wonderful D57 website. It has lots and lots of information on it, but I want to just send you over to one thing in particular. So you go to the website, you scroll over to where it says Member Resources, and then you scroll down to Pathways Learning Zone. There's also a nice section here on high performance leadership. That's kind of nice. But we're going to go to Pathways Learning Zone. Click on Pathways Learning Zone. There's a lot of information here. What is your journey? How do I get started? The complete Pathways guide is right there. For those of you who are more autodidactic or more visually oriented, there is a complete Pathways guide, which you can print out. And then the one I'm really interested in here is Pathways, Path, and Project Catalog. Actually, there's another one down here, Guide to Path Selection. That's pretty nice too. Actually, there's a lot of good information on there. But, you know, today we're going to try and we're going to spoon feed the information. Pathways, Path, and Projects Catalog. You go and you click on that, and it will list it very clearly for you all of the 10 paths. There are 10 paths, and if you click on it, it will go to that path and tell you exactly what is in that path. So if you're interested in dynamic leadership and you want to know what it's all about, you look at level 1, and there's all the different projects. Level 2 is there. Level 3 is there. You'll see all the different types of electives, and it's really nice. So there you have it. I think this is one of the best ways to figure out what all the paths are about. And you may just decide, hey, I don't need to do the assessment. If I just read these over, I'll know what's best for me. The most popular one is Presentation Mastery, mostly because it is focused less on leadership and more on presentation and on speech development. That's the one that I did first. I finished that one. I'm getting close to finishing my second path. I finished Presentation Mastery. I'm now working on Motivational Strategies. But Presentation Mastery is possibly the most popular, but if you are someone who is interested in leadership, dynamic leadership might be for you. If you're interested in coaching, that might be for you, and so on. So I'm not going to read these out. I do want to make one point about choosing a path before I move on. Each path has different requirements for finishing the path. But some of the paths, 3 of the paths in particular, have a final requirement of a high performance leadership project. Now you're probably familiar with the term HPL because it's what people talk about when they're trying to finish their DTM or their Distinguished Toastmaster edition. But 3 of the Pathways projects also have an HPL, and they're a lot of work. So if you are not interested in doing an HPL in your pathways, maybe you don't want to choose those paths. And I will show you which one they are. Effective coaching right here. If you look down here, it says High Performance Leadership Project. I wonder, I'm going to make an attempt to see if I can actually draw on this. Well, that would be cool. I wonder if I can. I don't know. Oh, wait, I think there is. Let's see what happens. Hey, look at that. All right, a kind of a drawing. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I'll see what I can do. Cool. All right, let's see what other ones. Sorry, that was Presentation Mastery. That was a mistake. All right. And high performance leadership, here's one. Here's another high performance leadership and persuasive influence. All right, very cool. So those are the 3 that have a HPL. And so you just want to bear in mind that you may or may not want to do those paths because they have an extra assignment. And I just want to be clear on this, that pathways and HPL and pathways is not something that you can translate and transfer over to your DTM. You cannot double dip. You know, I did an HPL there and then I use that HPL for something else. No. If you use an HPL for pathways, it stays in pathways. It cannot be used for a DTM. I hope that's clear. All right. Let's see. And I'm going to clear all drawings. Excellent. Okay. So that's why. So if you go over to D57TM, you can see the different paths. You can read about them, and you can read about which ones have a high performance leadership and so on. All right. Now then, I need to get out of this and move on back to the main website. And here we are. So we're going to just start from the beginning. I'm going to go fairly quickly because I don't like to be repetitive. However, if I go too quickly, then you'll know it. So, and you'll let me know. So when you're trying to get into Pathways for the first time, you go to the TMI website, which is toastmasters.org, and you have two ways. You can click on Pathways, or you can click on Education. Education, if you click on Education, it will say Education, or it will say Pathways Learning Experience. So that's a pretty quick way to get into the system. That's usually what I do. If you go into Pathways, there are 6 different options, and it could be confusing. You can go to Basecamp. You can access my path through Basecamp. Those will get you into the Pathways. You can access materials. You can choose a path. You can take the assessment. You can learn more. So if you were someone who wanted to take the assessment, that's pretty clear. You hit Take the Assessment, and it will give you an ability to take the assessment. There it is. Take your assessment, and you take the assessment, and it's free, and it will give you 3 different recommendations for the path that it thinks would be best for you, because Pathways knows you better than you know you. So that's how it works. It is not $20. Your first path is free. Your second and each additional path after you finish the path is an extra $20. My first path was free. When I finished my first path and said, I want to start my second path, I plopped down $20. Same thing with the printed materials. The printed materials are cheaper. They're $25 for your first one. And then for each additional one, they add another $20. So if you wanted to print some materials, there are 5 paths in English, and you can actually print your materials, but I'm not sure I would recommend it. You would lose the advantages that Pathways provides of having videos and such. But for some people who like to have it, you can print your materials, have them sent to you, and voila, you're in the manual system. But in any case, it's free for your first path. You take the assessment, you go through it, and it will recommend a path for you. Pretty cool. I did that, and it recommended Presentation Mastery, and I said, yes, I love it. I'll do it. So that was Take the Assessment. You may decide that you want to choose a path. And so you can just come into Choose Your Path, and it will take you to this main screen. And it's pretty obvious. Choose your path. Continue to path selection. And you just go through the steps, and you will be able to choose a path. And again, it won't charge you. Once you have a path, you have other choices. I'm not going to dwell on the Navigator for very long. The Navigator isn't particularly relevant for people who are doing who are working with Pathways and who are doing projects. But the Navigator has some advantages. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but let me just click on it for a second so you can see what the Navigator is all about. Congratulations, you're here. Continue. Okay, we're going to go into Navigator. And we're going to continue again. So what's interesting about the Navigator is it has a lot of information about being a Toastmaster. It doesn't actually talk that much about being it doesn't talk that much about Pathways. It has a lot of great information. It has information about prepared speeches. It has information about evaluations, about table topics. You go on and it will talk about club meeting roles. You can actually click on various people. So it's actually a primer for how to be a Toastmaster. And if you have a new person, I would actually encourage, if you're a VPM and you're doing an orientation, guide them to Navigator so they can actually see all this great information about being a Toastmaster and about the Toastmaster world. But it doesn't have very much, if anything, about Pathways. So just bear in mind that Navigator is not a Pathways tool, particularly it's a Toastmasters tool. So a lot of people don't know that I have not looked through it all. But when you're doing Pathway stuff, you can pretty much ignore Navigator. When you're doing Pathway stuff and you've already chosen a path, you can ignore that. So I would say take the middle path, as the Buddha said. So when you're doing Pathways, the most common thing is you would log in as a member of Basecamp, which is the online gateway. Now, if you are a president or a VP, and I think a secretary, there will probably be another red box here that says log in as Basecamp manager. That means that you're an officer who has extra powers. You're like a Marvel Comics superhero. You have extra powers. You have the ability to go in and accept people as they finish each level. You have the ability to submit awards. So you get to do some special things. And we can talk about that later. But, and it is a very important role. It's usually the VPE. It's a very important role. But most of us who are doing projects, we would just log in as a member. And that's what I'm going to focus on today. So I'm going to go ahead and click on log in as a member. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. When you do log in as a member, you'll get this screen, which has 5 more boxes. Now, I just want to be honest with you. The first time that I signed on the Pathways, I was overwhelmed. I was absolutely confused and confounded by all of the various different tiles and boxes. We got navigating, my education transcript, my feedback, my badges, speech evaluations. I didn't know what to do. My education transcript sounds like what you think about with college transcripts. I'm going to see a record of my grades. Not a very good term. When I see my feedback, I'm thinking that must be my feedback form. Not true. That's actually your evaluation form. My feedback is feedback that you can give to yourself, feedback which you can give to TMI, but it's not the same thing. Badges, I don't even know what badges are. At least I didn't. So I was very confused the first time that I went into the system because there were just a lot of extraneous boxes. It would be great if they had a little description, like you hover over it and something pops up and says, this is what you need to click on. This is not. So I like to liken it to the Winchester Mystery House with fake doorways and fake hallways and steps that lead nowhere. So I think the key to working with Pathways is to know what's important and skip all the rest, or look at it in your leisure, but don't get bogged down, because once you go down the rabbit hole, it's hard to get out. So I'm going to be, we're going to start right into this. Let's see if I can pull up that annotate thing again. I haven't quite figured out what is the best tool that I want for making go on. We'll just try it again. Okay. Let's see what happens. Yes. Okay. That's it. I think you should see a green box. And here's another green box. In my opinion, these two are the most important boxes in Pathways. And that all the other ones are secondary or tertiary or whatever is after that. My education transcript, which will get you into your path, and speech evaluations, which will allow you to access your speech evaluation. And all the other ones are secondary. You can ignore them most of the time. I will go through them and we can talk about what they are, but I would say my education transcript and speech evaluations are the key. Ignore everything else. Okay? I hope that's clear. If you do this, it will be much, much easier. Otherwise, it's going to be maddening. All right, we're going to clear all drawings. We're going to close this out. And I'm going to go ahead and click into my education transcript. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to do that because that's a long discussion. I'm going to flip this, and I'm going to go to speech evaluations because I think it's interesting. So we're going to click on speech evaluations and see what comes up. Now, when you click on speech evaluations, you're going to see all sorts of questions. And scroll down, and here is a list of evaluation resources. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times 5. So there's about 75 different evaluations. And these are the evaluations that you would click on, print out, and give to your evaluator. In the good old days, you would have a manual. You would give the evaluation on your manual to your evaluator. They would fill it out, give it back to you. In the modern age, you go and find the evaluation that you need, and then you print it out, and then you give it by hand to your evaluator. They fill it out, and they give it back to you. All of the evaluations for every single path, all 10 paths, and all 75 or 80 or 90, whatever it is, they are all here. Now this can be a little bit confusing because they're not named or titled very intuitively. So you actually have to really, when you're doing your project, make a note of what the title is of your project, because that will match up with your evaluation. So you need to go through. Now they helped out a little bit. Here where it says evaluation feedback, evaluation resource number 1, evaluation feedback number 2, and number 3. These are all have to do with projects in level 1, and they are marked, so that's great. That would be pretty much your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th project after your icebreaker. Let's see if icebreaker is here. Icebreaker, yay, so that's your first one. So you click on these, and you print them out. Let's go ahead and click on it. If you click on the icebreaker, you'll come to this where it says launch, and then you hit launch. Now I've had some trouble with launching this in the past because all of a sudden it goes off of my screen and you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to just click on it anyway, but I don't think you're actually going to be able to see the pop-up box, unfortunately. But I might be able to, it's not really important. In any case, you click on it and the evaluation form pops up, and then you should be able to maximize it and print it, and then you are Bob's your uncle. You have an evaluation which you can give to your evaluator. I'm not even going to go through that. So that's all you have to do. And now I'm at my, I don't know why it keeps jumping around at me. Funny, isn't it? Let's see if I can back up. Not exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to try again. Okay. So there we are again, back on the screen. So again, speech evaluations, you find your speech evaluation, you print it, you give it to your evaluator, they fill it out. Now we're going to go into the main box. My Education Transcript. Here it is. Dun, dun, dun. Click on it. We are now in My Education Transcript. And if you go down, you will see your path. You'll also see some other stuff. And again, you have to, big thing with pathways is just to figure out what's important and figure out what's not and ignore what's not. So here we see manage successful events. This is a special evaluation resource. I have not even looked at it. So I don't even know what it's about yet, but it's not, it's in progress, so it's something or another, but it's not relevant to my path. Motivational Strategies with the blue books, that is my current path in progress. Pathways Mentor Program, that is a separate project. You actually spend a certain amount of time creating a mentor program, and then you get an award for it, but it's not part of my path, so I'm going to ignore it. The Navigator, we already talked about that. It's a series of tutorials on how to be a Toastmaster. So Motivational Strategies is my path. I just want to, before I go a little bit further, I want to scroll back up again. When you go into this Education Transcript area, there's one other thing that you can take a look at, which is over here, which says ePortfolio. So here, this tab is Transcript. Transcript is a terrible name. It means nothing. This means basically your pathway area, your path area. This is where you find your projects. But there is this thing called ePortfolios. I'm going to click on that. And if you click on ePortfolios, you will see an area that says Documents. You'll also see something that says Badges. I'll click on the badges just for fun. Badges are basically little awards that Toastmasters gives you. So I have a little badge here that says Level 3 achieved, Level 2 achieved, Level 1 achieved, Motivational Strategies activated, Presentation Mastery proficient. That means I finished my mastery proficient. Level 4 achieved, Presentation Mastery activated. So you get these little badges. And I believe there actually is a way to print them. So you might, you can award yourself if you're motivated that way. I wish they were kind of cooler. I think smiley faces or Hello Kitty or something would be more fun. But there are badges. I don't personally find them to be particularly helpful. But there they are, and it might be possible for a VPE to print badges. That's a question for another time. So I just went back. So you're back in this ePortfolio page, and then there's this one other thing here called Documents. I'm going to click on that. And Documents, if you look down here, it says My Documents, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. This is where, if you choose, you can put your evaluations. So let's say, backing up a little bit, you print out an evaluation, you give a speech, you give your evaluation to an evaluator, they fill it out with glowing remarks, and they give it back to you. Well, you have a choice. You can save it in your folder. You can save it in your closet. You can put it into the bottom of your underwear drawer. It's up to you. You have a piece of paper that nobody is going to look at. It's really just up to you. Okay? However, myself, I don't want to have a stack of evaluations cluttering up my bookcase. So what I do is I scan my evaluation to my computer, and then I stick it right here online in this ePortfolio. And it's really easy. You just click on the level, you go into it, and it gives you an opportunity to add files. I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger. So if you can see right here, I have taken all of my evaluations and I have uploaded them into this folder, and I have saved them, and I can throw them away because they are now saved. These are all of my level 1 evaluations. And of course, I've done a few paths, so there's a lot of different things. I do recommend that you come up with a clever way of labeling them, just so you know what you're doing. So like if you're, right now I'm in Motivational Strategies, so I labeled it TM, MS, which is Motivational Strategies, level 1, and then that's how I know. And then I put icebreaker, and then I put 1 of 2 and 2 of 2 because it was 2 pages, the back and the front. I was less good at it at the beginning, and here's a speech evaluation and so on. Project 3 evaluation and so on and so on. Icebreaker, did not label those. That was from my first path. I got better at it. So the idea is you just go and you hit add file, and then it says drag and drop files here, select a file, and you would take it from your computer and put it in here, and then you have your evaluations online. So that's up to you. I think it's a nice idea to be able to save these. Now, the chances are that no one will ever come and look at these. This is not accountability from TMI Big Brother. It's not your VPE wants to see all of your evaluations. It's really for your information so that you can keep them in one place online and not have to worry about losing them. You always have them, and it's great. Now, I suppose if it really came down to it, if you had a VP that didn't trust you and thought maybe you were cheating and fudging, then you could actually come over and say, take a look at my pathways, here's my evaluations. But generally speaking, it's an honor system, pathways and Toastmasters. So this is a place where you would put your evaluations and save them for posterity. I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, please do write them in or unmute yourself and chime in. Jenny wrote me a message just saying that most clubs just approve without seeing anything, especially since you can get things approved by multiple clubs without communicating with each other, which is true. I used to be in 2 clubs, and I would do one thing here and one thing there. So there you have it. One other note that she provided is that the president, the VP, and the secretary can print certificates to recognize members for each level completed. That's true. And I recommend it. Particularly if you're a VPE, you should probably reward people every time they finish. First, give them a ribbon when they finish their icebreaker, because that's a new speaker accomplishment. Give them a ribbon or acknowledgement or certificate when they finish their level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their entire path. Recognitions are always possible. There are ribbons and there are certificates available. One thing you could do is, if you wanted, is when you finish a project, you could actually email or send your evaluation to your president, VP, and secretary if you wanted to, just to let them know, hey, I finished this. But anyway, this is for your convenience. This is a place for you to store your evaluations. All right, I want to keep on going because I want to jump into how these projects work because there's always going to be questions. And actually, before I even go all the way through this, I want to alert you to something. There it is. If you are in Pathways and you scroll to the top, over here on the upper right is a little wheel. It's a little cog or something like that. And a lot of people don't know about this. It's a really clever thing. It is important as well. So even before I jump into the various path projects, I want you to click on this, or I'll click on it for you. You can see what comes up. Actually, you have to hit My Account. When you click on this, a page that is not very well publicized comes up. And it says Preferences. And it will say your time zone and your name. And then it has, to my great surprise when I learned about this, it has all of the functionary roles. Who knew? Which means that as you finish a functionary role in your club, come to this page and log it in. Select the date and log it in. Why is that important? Well, for one thing, it helps you to remember when you were a functionary. If you have a mentor, they can check and see, or you could invite them to come and check and see. But it will definitely help you to remember when you were a functionary. But it's much more important than that. The system, let's put it this way. The people who created Pathways wanted to make sure that people weren't just giving speeches, but that they were also taking leadership roles. And so they built into the system an accountability that if you want to go from level 3 to level 4 in any of your paths, you need to have completed functionary roles. It will not let you access or graduate from level 3 to level 4 unless you have been a Toastmaster, you've been a Topics Master, and I believe speech evaluator. It's not so, they're not as concerned about counter or grammarian. I don't think general evaluator is in there. I think the 3 that are there is evaluator, Toastmaster, and Topics Master, and maybe Jenny can confirm on that. But what it means is sometime between the time that you finish level 3 and want to access level 4, you need to come in here and you need to put in the date that you were Toastmaster, the date that you were Topics Master, and the date that you were speech evaluator. And that is the key. If you do that, it will send a message to the system that you are now ripe and available to get on to level 4. If you don't do that, you're going to get hung up there and you're going to be confused, and you're going to be sending a message to your VP saying, why can't I get into level 4? I did everything. It's not fair. So that's really important. So you really want to make sure you go to that little, I hope that you can all see it. It's in the upper right-hand corner at the top of your Pathways page, a little cog or wheel. You need to click on that, and you need to put in your functionary roles as you complete them. If you go on to a second path, you're going to need to clear out these dates and do it again. So let's say the first half of the year, you've been on it, you finish a whole path between now and December 31st. Incredible. Then next year, you start a new path. You're going to need to go in here and you're going to hit clear, and you're going to have to clear out these dates, and you're going to have to do it again for your new path. So you're going to have, if you Topics Master, you're going to have to clear it out and put the new date that you were Topics Master, and so on, because it won't allow you to keep these dates. It doesn't care if you did it last year. It wants you to do it for each path, which is great. Every path you should be playing functionary roles. And actually, the message I'm getting here is they only request speaker, evaluator, and Topics Master. Okay, there we go. Very good. Okay, so let us continue back, and again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to keep going because I want to get through everything before the top of the hour and then leave some time for questions. All right, we're popping back. That's not where I want to be. I don't want to keep doing that. Here we are. Open up the window. So here we are. We go into my education transcript. Like I said, we're now on the education transcript page, and we are at Motivational Strategies, which is my path. And I want to start doing it. Yay. I jumped in. I'm ready. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to click on Motivational Strategies. If you click on the actual word with the active link, you'll go somewhere else. And it's not very helpful. So don't do that. You don't really want to click on that arrow. You really want to click on where it says Open Curriculum. Open Curriculum. You click on Open Curriculum, and you will see the projects. Over here on the left, it says level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Over here on the right is the current level that you are in. In this case, I'm in level 4. I'm waiting for them to approve, and I'm going into level 5. You can click on level 1, 2, 3. They are already completed. Level 4 is not yet completed, but it will be. So just let's see what's going on. What should I click on? Let's click on level 1. That's where most people are. If you're on level 1, you can see I've already got a check mark. I've done my icebreaker. I've done my evaluation and feedback. I've done my researching and presenting. There's actually 5 projects here. The icebreaker, the first one under evaluation feedback is you do a speech on any topic you like. Then you get feedback. You do another speech incorporating your feedback, and then you finish by doing an evaluation, and then someone evaluates you doing the evaluation. So you actually have your evaluation evaluated. Exactly. So there you have it. So you have 5 different projects in level 1, and each one you click launch and you do it. And then when you're done with all of your speeches, you would then come down here and you would click level 1 completion, and you would go through the process. It'll actually have you an active link here, and you'll go through the process, and then you will be done. You really do need to make sure that after you've done each project, you finish up by hitting the level 1 completion, and you do what it tells you to do. And then you'll be done. It will send a message to your VPE that you are done and that they should approve you and send you on to level 2. So that's pretty much how it works. Again, you don't want to click on icebreaker. You want to click on launch. For whatever reason, there are active links here. It doesn't benefit you to click on those. It just gets confusing. I highly recommend you click on the red buttons only, those big red buttons. So let's just click on the icebreaker for a second. We'll click on the icebreaker. Aha. All right. What it's done for me is it's opened a separate box. And I'm guessing that you can't read it because of the way that my Mac works. As soon as I have it open up, if it opens up, okay. Let me ask, Jenny, can you see the pop-up box? No pop-up box. Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm going to attempt to share that box because I think I can. Let's see, would this be it? Let's see if that works. You can share your desktop or switch between windows. Yeah. There, I see your pop-up. Great. Yep, that's what I did. So you pop up a pop-up and you will now be in the program. Depending on whether you have a Mac or whether you have an Android or a PC, you want to expand this box to full size. With a Mac, there's a little green button. If it was PC, which is what I have, you'd have a different way of doing it. You'd have a circle or a square. I'm just going to expand this out so you can see it. And there we have it. This is your assess your skills. This box down here that says select or move to another section is a great way to see all the different sections. Navigation, introduction, your assignment, assess your skills, and so on. There's a lot of different things that you can see in the initial, in that little box at the bottom. I use that one all the time. Mostly you're going to actually start with something that says navigation, and then you just go through it. If you open up the box, you're going to see these arrows. These arrows are what help you to move through the project. This actually navigation explains it all, but you want to hit these arrows and you'll go on to the next page, which is introduction. You click on the next box, has more information, next box, more information, and so on. And then you just go through the various things. And we can actually click on directions, and we can continue on your assignment. Before every project, there's going to be assess your skills before. And when you want to do assess your skills, you use this red next box to move through this. So in general, you're using these arrows to move through the bigger pages, but within a page, you use these red next buttons, and they will take you through this. And so before every project, you assess your skills before by picking a number. I am aware of my strengths as a communicator and leader. I put a 4 because nobody's perfect. You do these, and you assess your skills, and then you move on to the project, and there's competencies, and there's video navigation, and a little video pops up with a woman talking to you, which is cool, and so on. Here's the key. You do your project, you go through and get all this great information, and eventually you do your speech. You need to make sure after you finish your speech that you come back to this project and do your post-project assessment. If I were to click at the bottom where it talks about the different sections, you'll see assess your skills after. I'll remind you that there was an assess your skills before. Assess your skills after is your assessment of how much you learned from doing this project. In my case, my after, I had a 5 and a 5 and a 5, so I felt like I did quite well. So you must do this, otherwise the project will not be completed and it won't mark it as completed. A lot of people think, I've given a speech, I've printed an evaluation, I received an evaluation, I'm done, but you're not. You need to go back into that project, in this case, your icebreaker, find the assess your skills after, fill it out, and when you're done with that, it will tell you, voila, you are finished with this project, and then it will give you the check mark, and you are done. So it's very important that you tell everybody, don't forget to go back and assess your skills, and then you will be done with that project, and you can do another one and another one. A lot of people get frustrated, like, I finished level 1, I did all my projects, why can't I go on to level 2? It's because you didn't assess your skills after each one. So very important. I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to make sure that I'm back on my share screen. And hopefully I am back on my share screen. So that's what you do. You go through each one, you launch it, you do your pre and post assessment, and you get a check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. Eventually, you'll do this level 1 completion or level whatever completion, and you will be done with the level. It will send a message to your VPE, and you are now ready to go on to the next level, which will open up. For me, I'm on here's level 3. I have, it says I have not yet finished level 4. When I finish level 4, I will have a check mark, and then I will have access to level 5, and I can start doing those projects. And I haven't even looked. I'm keeping it a surprise for myself. I want to see what wonderful projects come up for me in the next thing. So that is what we are doing. Right, that's nice. So that's that's all the information that I really wanted to cover in this. As I mentioned, I wanted to cover how you choose a pathway, how you go through a project, and then I also wanted to explain about the evaluations and how those work and so on. I am going to open it up for questions now. And you can take it yourself off of mute, or you can type a message and I will answer them. While you're thinking, I'm going to go back to a question from Wing back in the earlier. Does the evaluation assignment of level 1 require an actual evaluation of that evaluation speech? And the answer is yes. And it actually is built into the project. When you're doing that level 1 evaluation assignment, the third one will actually have an evaluation. And you print that evaluation, and somebody will evaluate your evaluation, which is very helpful. I wish that Toastmasters in general would do an evaluation of the evaluator, because it's, you know, we're so used to having our evaluations, our speeches evaluated, but who teaches us how to be an evaluator? Nobody. So I would love to actually have my evaluations evaluated, preferably. Yeah, preferably if that's one of the great things about having a mentor, is that your mentor can evaluate everything you do as an extra evaluation. I just started evaluating somebody, and I'm planning on doing that. So yeah. Are there any other questions at this time? I would love to show you how to accept and approve people's speeches, their levels, how to submit for awards, but I do not have access to that part of the website because I am not currently an officer. I am a area director, but I'm not an officer in my club at the moment. I was president, and now I am immediate past president, but I got no rights to get in. Oh, there you go. Jenny just wrote me a private message saying that she is an officer and she has access to Basecamp. So she's somebody that you could possibly contact. Are there any other questions? Let's see who is still currently on the meeting. We still have 7 people. We have Carol, Evelyn, Wing, Philip, and then we have a phone number. Do any of you guys have any questions that I have not covered that you would like to know before I jump off? I hear some typing. One thing I'd like to just also share is the best way to learn pathways, I think, is to attend a tutorial like this. Doesn't have to be mine, obviously. Could be a tutorial with your VPE or your VPM or your pathways guide or whoever in your club. Attend a tutorial, go back and play with the system as much as you can, break the system, make mistakes. I promise you, you won't break the internet. And then when you're done, come back, and if you have any questions, come back and do another tutorial. Let's see. Evelyn wrote, thank you for this informative tutorial session. I'm VP Ed and learned a few things I can share with members who are on pathways. Hooray. That was the goal. That was definitely the goal for you to be able to bring some things back to the people who have questions. And there will always be tons of questions. But, I think it's kind of up to us. People are they're frustrated and they're confused because it's new and challenging. So it is kind of up to us to learn it better than our club members so that we can teach it to them. And then to try and communicate some sense of confidence and validate and acknowledge so that, if we project this image of I hate pathways and I think it sucks, then of course they will take your lead and then you'll have a club that doesn't do it. And we all want people to do pathways. It's going to give you challenges. For example, my last path, level 4, I had a requirement in Motivational Strategies. Actually, I'm going to go into it so I can show you. I had a requirement that I had to do a speech called Motivate Others. And it says, this project focuses on how people are motivated. It's designed to help you build your leadership skills by effectively motivating team members. And I had to, this was my job for this things, I had to create some sort of a project that would be helpful for my club. And yeah, I see, thanks, Avalon, I'll get right back to it. I had to create a project that would be helpful to my club. Then I had to put together a team. We had to do the project. We had to meet 3 times. I had to also do icebreakers and team building exercises during each of those meetings. And then I had to do a 360 feedback. And finally, I had to do a speech about the entire experience. And that sounds like an awful lot. That's a lot more than just doing an icebreaker. It took several weeks, but it was really valuable. It might have been the best leadership experience I've had with my club, because we created a mentorship manual and a mentorship orientation for our club, which didn't exist. And it was really good. I had 3 incredible, great team members. We put it together, presented it to the club. We did an orientation, and then I did a speech about it just a couple days ago. I would never have done this in the old manual system, but I did it because Pathways required it. In Motivational Strategies, it required it, and it was very, very rewarding and enriching to do it. And there's a lot of stuff like that. And plus, create a blog. And I actually had to do a webinar. That was another one that I had to do for this speech. Or at least I chose to. I said, I did a webinar. Great experience. So there's I think Pathways is up to date to the kind of skills that people need today. And it's not just Speechcraft. And so there's a lot to it if you're up for it. And again, you can choose electives. Most of the time you can work around it. Evelyn asked, how often will D57 offer tutorials after this series? No idea. I know that there are, I believe, 3 more. So if you have any more questions, you'll probably get Stanny, who's the Pathways chair, and you can get a different angle, a different idea. But I don't know if they're going to do this again anytime soon. If you'd like me to, I certainly could. Jenny suggested I note to you that pathway requirements for DTM are different and there are more criteria, and that's absolutely true. So if you are doing a DTM in the old system, make yourself acquainted with that. If you're doing a DTM in Pathways, make yourself acquainted with the Pathways requirement. In fact, I'm going to, yeah, there it is. She actually printed the link. And that's actually really great. Thank you, Jenny. It's absolutely true. So there definitely are requirements. Also bear in mind that the old system is coming to an end. And it's basically in the spring of 2020. The manual system is coming to an end. So if you are trying to get a DTM and you want to do it through the old system, you're going to need to hoof it. You're going to have to get going. You're going to need to finish your 2 manuals. You're going to have to be an area director or some sort of a district director. You're going to have to do all the things. You're going to have to do the HPL that it requires. And you're going to have to get that done. So, hopefully it won't bottleneck all the people that want to get this done. But, everybody wants to be an area director. But it is, there are workarounds. But make sure that you, if you want to be a DTM and you've gone really far through the old system, you're going to have to get on it because the time is running out. If you want to be a DTM in the pathway system, it's very similar. You need to do 2 paths, and then you have to do these other things. You need to be a coach of a club. You need to or found a club. You need to be an area director. You need to be a president, and so on. The main differences, as she just wrote, is 2 paths, with or without HPL project pending path selected. DTM capstone project, 1 year of club officer, 1 of Speechcraft youth leadership club sponsorship, and 1 of club mentoring or coaching. So there you go. There you go. Perfect. Awesome. And 1 year district leadership is the same. So it's 2 minutes to the hour. I will happily stay on a few more minutes if anybody else has any questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up, and I hope it was helpful, and I hope I didn't overwhelm you with too much stuff. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it's a challenge to try and do this in a clear way, and but I hope this was helpful. And let me write down my address. If you have any questions at all, write me, and I will answer them. And if I can't answer them, I will refer them to Jenny, or I'll refer them to Stanny or to Donica Hopkins, all the people who know more about Pathways than I do. But I'm working it. I like it. I don't have any problem with it. And there's no reason to be overwhelmed by this system. I am not seeing any other questions. So I'm going to stay on till 1 o'clock, 2 minutes more, and then I'm out of here, as you will be as well. Okay. Oops, I put my address to Jenny by mistake. It's not supposed to be there. I'm going to write this to everyone. There's my email address. I need to get a Toastmasters email address, I think. I think that they've given it to me and I haven't got it yet. Yeah, that's absolutely right. All right. I'm going to log off, guys. Thank you for coming. I hope this was helpful. If you have any more questions, we've got 3 more sessions like this, led by Stanny, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks everyone for coming, and see you next time. See you at Deckham. Thanks, Wing. You're welcome. All right.